4 rounds remain, and the top 3 drivers in the championship are separated by a mere 2 points. The previous 2 rounds featured brutal street circuits, and so the wide open spaces and paved runoff of Spa seems welcome. But it'll be no easy stroll through the misty forest today. This classic track demands high commitment and a fair bit of driving skill, so the cream will most certainly rise to the top. We'll see who winds up leading the points as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. I'd say this place qualifies as one of the meccas of racing lore, wouldn't you?
Oh, most definitely, and welcome everyone to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Opened in 1921, this 4-mile, 7-kilometer, 19-turn track is by far the pinnacle of all motorsports. This is the track everyone wants to win at, especially if you are a sports car driver and fan. With races such as the 6 Hours of Spa and the Total 24 Hours of Spa, sports car racing has definitely made its mark here. To give you, the fan, to see what it is like to be on this historical, masterful track, let's hop on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we're in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Spa. Coming down to La Source, this can be a good place to try and overtake, but it's very sharp in this corner. It makes the early laps when cars are bunched up a big risk to trip over each other. Plus, you might want to save your pass attempt until after this corner, because as we accelerate down the hill towards Eau Rouge, you're going to see a much better opportunity if you just show some patience. Though Eau Rouge and Rodillion are marginal in the GTE cars, it's still very high speed. Make sure not to get a cut course penalty as you come over the crest, and now we hit the Kimmel Straight. Overtaking is so much easier if you just blow by them on the straight with more momentum. Plus, you've got the heavy braking down into Lacombe to help you get the job done. You won't track out fully though, because Malbody comes right after the chicane, and you've got to hold left to give yourself a nice wide arc. This is the highest part of the circuit, and now we start heading back downhill with Rivage. Passes can sometimes happen into here, but it's terribly easy to outbrake yourself. Everyone's going to be fighting some understeer with its off-camber nature, but they've also got to get set up quickly for No Name. This deceptive bend catches people out frequently when the car snaps loose and they slap the barrier on the left. From here we approach Pouhon, which even with the paved runoff is kind of frightening. It's wicked fast, downhill, and has 2 apexes. Plus, if you lose it and have your car stop mid-corner, there's a good chance someone could plow into you. Finally, we're at the bottom of the valley. Vanier sees the occasional overtake, but it's really a medium-speed chicane, so outbraking your opponents is harder than you'd expect. It's also easy to get an off track on the exit by getting on the power too soon. Immediately you come up to Stavelot. This first apex can be kind of important because you obviously don't want to find yourself in the gravel. But the second one is the one that leads onto the backstretch, where if you hesitate on the power, you'll be very, very vulnerable. Even though there's some curves, none of them require lifting, so you'll be straightening them out to keep from scrubbing off speed. The real trick will be nailing Blanchimont because you can't quite take it flat out. And it'll be dangerous to let the car straddle the curb of the AstroTurf to the outside, since it'll be easy to spin it. You've got no time to rest now because you're coming up quick to the bus stop. This is a very popular place for passes, but it's also super common to blow the corner completely and wind up in the runoff. Smart drivers will make sure and stay tight to the first apex and set up a good exit onto the pit straight. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Spa. There you see a lap up and down the hills of the Ardennes forest at Spa-Francorchamps. Now, if you enjoy this race, it is of course brought to you by SIMMSA. The Simulation Motorsports Association is a sim racing platform created by experienced racers. Established in 2015, the association is bringing together organizations and communities to further promote sim racing globally. Concentrating on all sims worldwide, they offer a focused opportunity for sim racers to compete with each other. They also provide consultancy services to this growing esports world. SIMMSA offers solutions for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization, and upgrading of existing simulators. You can find them at SIMMSA.net. A huge thank you to the SIMMSA folks for bringing this series to life and to broadcast this season. Now, let's take a look at that championship that I talked about in the opening, and there you see it is a tie for the lead. Jesper Derlicka brings himself with that last win, and with his drop weeks up to first with Carl Modoff. Ben Perez, however, lurking in the background, didn't have the greatest of races last time, but is only 2 points back. William Whalen is sitting in fourth. He gets shoved down one, and he is also still well within the mix. Could still get himself the championship if he could get some wins. Right now it's been trading between the likes of Derlicka and Modoff. And then Christian Eisler is still in the hunt, only 16 back, with, including today, 5 rounds to go. Now, we also have a team's championship. And Taylor, where we stand there?
Well, the team's championship is still being held on by Team Bushfink of Perez and Eisler. They have about a 120-point lead over the Andes iRacing Puma team of Takeshi Kita and Lucio Vargas. That team has been doing very good job with being consistent throughout this season. Team HJ Motorsports with the Thacker and Hall Fords are still tied, but have gained some position along with the SDS Racing team with Carini and Sorellia. While Team Tortuga has joined the field as gaining some multiple positions, only 138 points back, but only 1 point behind third with Derlicka. So the team championship is heating up in that top 3, third, fourth, and fifth. But Joe, this is the first time for viewers here watching. Why don't we give them a little bit more details about what this race is all about?
Exactly, and today's race, as we mentioned, is round 7, and excuse me, we have 4 races including today. I was had my math wrong. No surprise there on GSRC. The cars that they run are the GTE class cars. You can see them listed: the Porsche, Ferrari, and the Ford GT. The race distance is their sprint race distance, 45 minutes, which means you can expect 1 pit stop because they have restricted the fuel cells compared to what the real cars can run. Other than that, that's the only difference from the real cars, because the setups are open, which means that anything that you can tweak on the Ferrari, the Porsche, and the Ford in the real race cars, you can absolutely do out there in iRacing. And that includes messing with the traction control and whatnot while you're out on track. They have all the dials and knobs that they can control in the real cars, and that will be important. The incident cap that you see there at the bottom, 30, well, that number means that each time they have an off-track contact with another car, a spin, or contact with the wall, they rack up a certain amount of incident points. They get 30 of those, they are disqualified from the race immediately. They are removed from the track by the software, so they will not be allowed to finish at exactly the point that they hit that number 30. They have no spare cars today, so as Bill Zahn likes to say, you break it, you bought it. And that could be the case with some of the high-speed corners we have around here. And I love that the Andes team, listen to me. They have the Andes Mints logo on the side of the car. I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
That's the best.
Oh, I love when we have that stuff work out. Thank you for doing that, guys. But before we get too caught up in jokes, why don't we go back to Taylor, because he's got the keys to the race and how to win today.
Well, of course, with that incident cap that we just saw in the race details of 30, drivers are going to have to be very careful. Spa is one of those SR or safety rating killers for a lot of drivers, even some of the big names, so very tricky to go, easy to go off course on this circuit, especially through some of the special corners such as Eau Rouge and Blanchimont, so drivers are going to be careful on that. Fuel strategy may be a big concern, even though this is a sprint format. With that cut in the fuel tank for these drivers are going to try to strategize to know when to come to pit road at the exact time. Some might come early to try to get a clean racetrack to set down fast times. Some might come a little bit later and wait till the absolute last moment till they have to pit. So Joe, this race is going to be by far a very interesting, difficult, but also drivers are going to be wheeling it like never before here tonight.
You can see Alex Albert coming across the line, the timing line down there after the bus stop chicane. Daniel Pinto is actually crossing it right now. He was one of our contenders last season for the championship, but has been struggling so far. I'm sure he hates us reminding every time. This last one, good enough to bump him up to 12th, but looks like he's going to abandon that lap, and I don't think he has enough time to get back around for another. In fact, he does not. William Whalen is coming across right now. He sits in second. This lap by does not improve, so he's going to get one more chance to try and get himself up to the pole, because right now, Taylor, he sits in second.
Yeah, William Whalen is one of those who is always strong in qualifying and in the race, but sometimes has that small mistake. As we watch right now, as Lucio Vargas comes by, looks like he will improve his lap time, bumping him up to 19th. And here comes his teammate Valenzuela coming across the line, also improving. So the Andes team has certainly been improving here tonight.
Ben Perez, he is currently in 6th. He's got 2 timed laps in. This will be his 3rd if he didn't have an off track. He did not have an off track, but he's not faster. So Ben Perez still sitting in that 6th spot. Now starts his final lap. It'll be important for some of these drivers to do what they can to improve their position. There are passing opportunities, but I have to imagine that the wake in these cars and some of these fast corners is going to make it tough to follow closely, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be very difficult for some of these drivers to try and get into that wake. These cars are not very fond when it comes to being in dirty air, where the aerodynamics can get very squirrely for these drivers. So they like clean air, so they're going to try their best to get around these drivers quickly as they can. But when they're stuck behind them, it's going to cost them big time, whether it be in aerodynamics, in losing time, or even losing position. So drivers are going to have to get by their competition very quickly once they catch up to them.
Checkered flag is out. You see Guillory finishing his qualifying. I don't think he got across in time. I can report that Modoff has left the track, so he's done. Eisler's left the track. He is out. Montini is done, so no better than 5th for him. First one to cross the line of our top runners is going to be William Whalen. He's coming around Blanchimont right now. That's Jean Carini that has not put a time in. Let's see if this last one gives him a time. Yes, 26, so well down the order, unfortunately, for Jean Carini. Here comes William Whalen. He's going to abandon the lap, though. Comes into the pits. He will start no better than 2nd. Jesper Derlicka is also abandoning his lap. That's it for him. Ben Perez, I think, should be the next one to come through. We're taking a look at one of the HJ Motorsports cars work their way around Blanchimont. This is Cofford. Comes down to the bus stop. He sits in 10th place with a fastest of 2:13.8. Around the 2 apexes off the line. He's had a lot of laps that did not count due to off tracks. Does this one count? It does, but it is not faster. Perez, this is his last go to try and improve from that 3rd row, and it's not good enough yet again. Surprises me with Ben. I think that's everybody except James LeBlanc. He's the last one. Everybody else has abandoned their laps. LeBlanc does improve with a 2:15.8. So he'll start from 24th. Let's go to our starting grid. Karl Modoff, as we said, championship leader and on the pole today. William Whalen will be starting next to him. He has not won a race yet this season. Neither has Christian Eisler down there in row 2, starting from 3rd. Jesper Derlicka, he's won the most of anybody so far this season. He'll start from 4th. Then Federico Montini, he'll start 5th. P6 goes to Ben Perez, with P7 starting with Joseph Janowski. Nick Harwood starts in 8th and Michael Derby in 9th. Rounding out our top 10 is Alexander Cofford.
Starting in the 11th position is Francisco Montini alongside Daniel Pinto in the 12th position. What I like to call Mr. Consistency, Aaron Thacker will be starting in the 13th position alongside his teammate Thomas Ellison in the 027. Behind them is the number 27 of John Guillory in 15th. Alongside him will be the number 337 of Alex Albert. 17th will be Justin Hall, followed by Pete Mabroten. Maxi Cirillia will start in 19th, and rounding out your top 20, Mr. Where Did He Come From, Takeshi Kita.
Lucio Vargas will be behind him in 21st with Cristobal Valenzuela next to him in 22nd. Then on the next row, it'll be Kyle Smith in 23rd. P24 will go to James LeBlanc. We saw him be the last one to finish up his lap with Hugo Galaz in 25th. Jean-Francois Carini, we're used to seeing him a little bit farther up in the mid-pack. Not his strongest track, it looks like, starting from 26th. Gary Schilling in 27th. And Karsten Quint did not get a lap time in 28th. We talked about the off tracks quite a bit in that qualifying, but really haven't mentioned much of what they mean in the race, other than just that brief mention of the incident points, Taylor. For our viewers who haven't watched iRacing before, explain a little bit about the challenge of the off tracks here at Spa.
Well, the biggest challenge here with off-track, especially with certain corners such as at Rouge, if you go too far off this corner, for example, maybe go over the curves with all 4 tires, that's going to give you a time penalty, in a sense to where you'll have to figure out a way to slow your car down, or sometimes even come to a complete stop, in order not to receive a black flag. This is a very costly mistake that a lot of drivers have had the opportunity of making throughout their iRacing career, and still even to this day. I know I've had it many times, especially going up through Eau Rouge. But drivers are going to have to be very consistent of hitting the apexes as best they can without going over that line to where it'll cost them dearly.
And it's not only those cut course penalties that drivers need to watch out for, but there is that incident limit at 30. And it's so easy with the paved runoff to just push that little bit too hard. And with a 45-minute race, it could easily be a case where drivers hit that 30 incident limit and wind up disappearing. As we see the cars getting ready for the rolling start, they're lining up just before Blanchimont, where the roof pace car will lead them away, just waiting on Ben Perez, the last of the field, to get himself out there. He's going to have a little bit of work to do. He, of course, had some problems running into some people in the hairpin at Montreal. Taylor, they've got at least one hairpin here. Well, I guess you could say multiple hairpins, because I guess you could count Rivage as one. So here's hoping that he's able to do a little bit better job of trying to keep the car clean.
Yeah, hopefully he's able to keep the car clean. Hopefully he's able to try and just remain focused on the track as best as he can. Hopefully, he'll just have a more consistent, better run compared to last week.
Taking off, coming around the fast left-hander of Blanchimont. And now up to the bus stop. This is the Grand Prix version, so they will start on this straightaway. Not often you see a start here, a rolling start on the pit straight. So as they wait for the pace car to come in, going to be very interesting to see how the field works its way through that bus stop chicane when they get the green. Modoff is our pole sitter, remember, so even though Whalen pulls up a little bit ahead of him, he's going to have to step back a little bit. Let's see if he gets a jump. He gets a really good jump, tries not to get too good of a jump, backs off just in time as Carl Modoff covers off the inside. Whalen tries to come around the outside as they hit La Source for the first time. This is a dangerous hairpin at the start of the race, but everyone pretty well separated, and I think they're all cleanly through. Oh, but not up at the front. Ben Perez involved. It's off the corner that caused problems. A spin for Federico Montini tipped him into Perez. Multiple cars finding themselves taking evasive action. We'll get back to it later as they're already on the Kimmel Straight. Side-by-side action for the lead as William Whalen once again tries to overtake Carl Modoff. And it's no good through Lacombe and Malmedy. This brings Christian Eisler and Jesper Derlicka up to them, but it's just this train of 4 with that big wreck behind them. It's put a gap between themselves and 5th place Coffer. Down towards Pouhon now, through the double apexer. Still Modoff leading. And up towards Fanyes, with William Whalen almost half a second back. So starting to lose a little bit of touch after the draft helped him down the Kimmel Straight.
Yes, indeed. So it looks like through the section right here, the twisty bits of the course, he seems to not be having a little bit of struggling right now, but is able to hold the power down on these straightaways as they're coming out of Stavelot 2 onto Blanchimont, heading down this back straightaway. So hopefully he's able to close the gap a little bit through Blanchimont. He's got to be careful not to go way too wide off to that corner. You will get a penalty if you go too far off. So as they make the way right now, but it looks like Eisler and Derlicka are backing off just a little bit, which brings in Alexander Cofford.
Yeah, they are losing touch to the top 2. Not good news for them with the way the draft can help you try to hold on Just a little bobble there through the bus stop from Whalen on almost both apexes. He continues on, staying at that half-second gap. A little bit of a battle down the field in 10th between Aaron Thacker and Alex Albert. This is 10th and 11th. Albert comes out ahead on that, although Thacker tries to take a look to the inside, down to LaSource. Taylor?
Yes, he holds his line as best he can. He is able to get a good run out of LaSource. Now makes the run up to Air Rouge. But there's a battle going on right in front of them between three cars of Pinto, Derby, and also Montini, Francisco Montini. Both of them making it out of way of Radelion down the Kemmel Straight. You see now Derby tries to look to the inside before they head to Lecombe.
Gonna try and outbrake him into the corner. Looks like he's very good on the brakes down on the inside while the track is still clean. So Michael Derby's gonna take that spot away from Montini, put him into P6. The battle behind them hot between Pinto and Ellison. Ellison can't quite get past as Daniel Pinto, who started this race in 12th, Taylor, he's already up to 8th.
Yeah, so this could be a really good night for Daniel Pinto. Last season, he had quite a good race here, so this could be the rebound that he needed in order to try and work his way up into the points. They head down into Pouhon. Got to be so careful through this section right here. It's very easy to wash up the track and get extremely loose, either get that off-track penalty or just lose the car entirely. So drivers have to be real careful to try to hug that curbing as best as they can and then wash up gently to where they hit the curbing again before going back down.
Speaking of washing up, a little bit of washing out from Ellison there heading into Fanyee. So since that backs him off, let's take a look at that replay on that first lap incident while we got a chance. Like I said, I believe it started with, I'm trying to remember which driver it was. Was it Montini that spun into Perez? I know it was Perez that got hit.
Yes, it was Montini.
See, here we go. There's Ben Perez. You could see, just too much gas off the corner. And then someone behind them, I couldn't see who that was, Taylor, just was caught up with no place to go.
Looked like Nick Harwood was one of those drivers who had the issue along with him by looking out down on pit road to see who was all involved. So I believe Harwood might have gotten involved where he had to make contact.
The other drivers did a great job trying to avoid the carnage, though. You could see someone wound up spinning on their lid. That's basically an automatic tow because you can't get the car turned over. Let's go to the leaders as we come back live because Whalen and Modov still going hard at it. Modov trying to tie on wins with this race with Jesper Derlicka. He's sitting pretty to try and do that, but I think Whalen's trying to become the first driver other than Modov and Derlicka, Taylor, to get that P1 spot this season.
Yes, indeed. He's really trying his best as they go through the Rivage. He gets a little bit offline where he doesn't hug the curbing as close as they do as they head down as a no-name. Modov has a really good run through there, hits the curb nice and smooth, and heads down to Pouhon. So able to pull a little bit of a couple of car length gap over.
One thing we haven't talked about thoroughly yet is the differences in setups that are possible out here. I know that you would work a lot with your team in these GTE cars to get them set up for races. Here at Spa, do you think it's better to go for a low downforce to try and be fast in the straight line or high downforce to really power through these curves?
And that's the key. You gotta find that good mix of both to where you're able to succeed as best you can. Preferably sometimes due to the fact of the long straightaways that we have here at Spa, it's best to try to have those low downforce speeds in order to help catch up to the competition in front of you. But of course you want to have a little bit less downforce to help hold you down to get to those corners as smooth as possible. Some drivers like to have their car. We look at P14.
Yep, this is between Hall and Sorella. Excuse me, actually Sorella 13th, and Hall does have Mabrote not too far behind him. Justin taking a little bit of look on the outside line of Maxi Sorella, but not close enough to outbrake him down into the bus stop. Both of them weaving their way through, trying to get the power down. Big bit of wheel spin from Maxi Sorella off the corner. He makes it work. Keeps Justin Hall from attacking once again, but gotta watch out how he treats those tires.
Yeah, wheel spin is a very big deal that will happen, especially through the bus stop chicane as well as La Source. You have to be so careful when putting the power down. Sometimes drivers like to maybe slowly add gas to the pedal when they come out of the corner. Some like to go all the way through it. You got to be careful and find the medium.
Up in 10th, side-by-side action yet again between Aaron Thacker and Alex Albert. These HJ Motorsports cars have been fighting for quite a while this race. Right now, Thacker is going to come out the better of the two. He's hoping for a little bit better result than what he had at Montreal. It was a miserable day, which included even running into the pit entry wall.
Yeah, that was quite not a good finish for him. He just wants to try to put that behind him and focus on what he has tonight. Hopefully watches out for the pit wall. Of course, some of us have made that mistake and look forward to try to just put that behind. So as he makes his way into Pouhon.
It was well off the apex there through Rivage. Looks a lot smoother downhill through Pouhon. His teammate keeping him very close at hand. If you're watching, trying to figure out who is who, the green rims are Aaron Thacker. The pink rims are Alex Albert. Heading now through Stavelot. Got to get that good launch, Taylor, onto this long stretch down the Blanchimont.
Yeah, if you do not get a good launch down towards Blanchimont, you are going to lose time. You are possibly even going to lose position if you have someone behind you. They're going to utilize a little bit of that slipstream to help make that corner and get that power down. So you got to make sure you hit the marks as best that you can, hug the apex, and get a good run off corner exit as they make their way to bus stop chicane.
Why don't we jump up to the podium, because Christian Eisler has Jesper Derlicka hot on his heels. And Jesper, I suspect from what we know of him, he might be content to stay here. We've watched him save fuel behind people a lot this season, Taylor. But, I mean, what do you think? He's seeing his championship rival slip away. Should he get the hurry up, or should he just kind of chill here?
I think that's the thing about Jesper he likes to do, is just chill, let the race come to him. He does that so well. Even when he makes those mistakes, he kind of lets those race come to him as he looks down to the outside.
Gonna make a liar.
I don't think he's gonna wait.
Yeah,
he is.
There he goes by.
Makes the pass.
Using that draft perfectly and gets through Christian Eisler. Now, the good news for him is he's only 1.3 behind Whalen and Modoff, so he could still run these guys down. It's not impossible. We've got a lot of racing left to go, but he's still got a car between himself and the driver he's tied with.
Yeah, with Derlicka, you kind of just want to just throw the strategy worksheet out of your way, because you never know what he's going to do for the most part. You think he's going to stay out, he decides to come in early. You think he's going to come in early, he decides to stay out. So with Derlicka, we're just going to have to just watch and wait and see what happens.
Well, he proved he doesn't need to wait behind someone last week. At Montreal, he led practically from start to finish, only the pit stops interrupting that. And with him disposing of Eisler, I guess he's gained the confidence to try and run at the front without having to save fuel behind someone. He's already got the gap down to 1.1 seconds, 2/10 chopped away in what is a fight not just for the lead, but for the championship lead. A little bit farther down while we wait for him to catch. Justin Hall down in 14th has McBroten and Kita catching him. Remember, not long ago, he was trying to gain on Sorella, and boy, that has gone sour, Taylor, because he's looking under threat.
Yeah, he has to worry about those two Porsches of McBroten and Kita.
Christian Eisler with a big problem. Sorry to interrupt. He's tumbling down the order. This is, you can see him stopped at the bus stop, and this was a lone car incident. Pulling up the replay. Oh, wow. Taylor, this car just snaps away from him. We'll have to back up just a little bit here. What happened here? Is this locking up the rears?
And more cars are getting involved, but yeah, he just locked up the rears by the looks of it on the replay. And more cars were even getting involved. Pete McBroten, Maxi Sorelli had nowhere to go, didn't know what was going on by the looks of it. And they spun a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Jean Carini and James LeBlanc got it into each other. Similar painted cars to the ones you mentioned. And they managed to get going once again, but this is horrible for Christian Eisler. this could be another one potential drop week. I'll have to go back and look to see what his drop week currently is. But this is not looking good for him. Looks like he didn't hit anything strong enough to do any damage.
Let's take a look at his lap times when he gets done with this lap after his spin and see how well he is compared to the leaders, if he's able to work his way back up.
So now running down there, we jump away going to 7th. This is the likes of Thomas Ellison being chased by not Aaron Thacker, no, it's Francisco Montini, actually. So he's got, his bad entry to Stabilo. That did not look tidy.
Yeah, he was not able to hold that in line as best he can. Careful, thankfully was not able to lose the car or get too far washed up. So he had to definitely hold the power down as well as hold that wheel as tight as he could. They make their way towards Blanchimont. Nice run off there, though, able to recover as they make their way to the bus stop chicane. Not close enough to make any serious threat right now. They go to the bus. Ooh, a little lock up on Ellison.
I flip through my pages as we stay on this battle, and right now, Eisler has drop points of 24. So that is good news that he's been very consistent this season. So if he does have a bad week, it won't affect him too horribly. 24 points is a nice handy chunk. Watch this battle stream its way towards Eau Rouge. This is again being led by Ellison. Montini behind him in 8th, and Aaron Thacker, recently overtaken, sits in 9th. Alex Albert back in 10th. The long uphill here to Lacombe. It is uphill that whole way. Not extreme, but still, it can affect the top speed of the car, depending on the grunt it has. Back down in 12th position, Maxi Sorella, Justin Hall going at it once more.
Yeah, Justin Hall got a little bit over the curbing as he went down through there as they make their way towards Rivage. Nice smooth line for both drivers, hugging the curbing as best they can. Now heading up towards No Name. Justin Hall is just not able to get the power down he needs to, so maybe he might be more focused on trying to have a more higher downforce package compared to Sorella. They head to Pouan. He closes the gap just enough there. Goes over the curbing. Careful not to go off track to where you could get that penalty or that 1X safety rating improved, to where that could be part of the incident cap tally. Ooh, Sorella gets real loose. Nice recovery.
To pass in the middle of that chicane. You could see that checked up Justin Hall. Already a train had been forming, but now it's getting a lot more intense because Pete LeBroten is right under the gearbox of Justin Hall, and they've got Takeshi Kita back there, and it could be 5 cars soon because Lucio Vargas, sitting in 16th, is ready to join the party.
Yeah, we almost got 5 cars under a blanket right now as they head towards Blanchimont. Nice smooth run. But Broten gets a really good run off the corner exit now. He's going to try to look to the inside, down to the bus stop chicanes. Careful not to overcook the tires.
Not quite brave enough to send one in, though, as they come out of that bus stop chicane. And wow, that looked a lot stronger for the first 2. Maxi Sorella, significantly more than anybody else, is able to pull away. Broten, instead of being on the attack, now has to worry about Kita. Heading around that La Source hairpin, a little bit of a puff of smoke from Kita, and they accordion apart yet again. Up and over Eau Rouge. Let's see if anybody can gain advantage at this point. Oh, I think LeBroten's got a good run. And he's got the draft, too. He is closing in, Taylor. This looks like a pass attempt brewing.
His little head game sticks his nose out, tries to show that he's a little bit faster. Gets on the brakes now through Lacombe.
I'd say it worked. Thacker looked pretty off the apex there into Lacombe. But he retains the position. Excuse me, Justin Hall, thank you.
Yeah,
Darn
Thacker's a
HJ
little bit ahead of
Motorsports
him.
drivers.
I know, there's so many of them. All these are Fords, a Porsche, and then there's like 2 Ferraris of HJ. Too many of those cars in this series. Of course, you could be worse. You could be the Andes team where it's the 4 Porsches, all the same design.
Well, they're all the same design in HJ Motorsports too, but you got to give them credit for having a powerful team out there. Still, we watch Pete Mabroten try to threaten. He's getting oh so close, but just can't quite do anything as they come down to Fanyes yet again. Justin Hall going to hold him off. This train, as Bill likes to say, my spidey senses are tingling. They keep getting close together. I feel like something's going to happen soon.
Oh, now that you said it, it will happen now there, Joe, as they come out of Stavolo 2 down there. Exactly.
Yeah. So they work their way up towards Blanchimont now. Maxi Sorella starting to pull a little bit of a gap, looking a little bit more confident up at the front of these cars. We've already entered the pit window. Speak of the devil. There goes Justin Hall. First to peel off of anybody, actually, for his scheduled stop.
Probably since his spidey senses were tingling in a sense, didn't like what was going on, decided to come down pit road and decides to get some clean track.
And clean track is up ahead of our leaders, too. William Whalen and Carl Modoff. Well, mostly for William Whalen, clean track. Modoff has been in his tire tracks pretty much this whole time. They've been holding Jesper Derlicka at bay at roughly 1.1 to 1.2 seconds. They've left Alex Cofford, the fourth place driver, the number 127, completely in the dust here. He is 4 seconds back from the top 3.
Yeah, Cofford's got to worry about, though, Daniel Pinto. Pinto's closing in. He's about a little under 2 seconds now. So Pinto having a really good recovery race here tonight in Spa. But right now, the battle for the lead going on between Modoff and Whalen is heating up even more.
Now,
they make their way to...
when we last looked, wasn't Modoff ahead of Whalen, though? I think we missed a pass for the lead somewhere.
We did miss a pass for the lead. I believe it was on that previous lap when we were watching Sorelia and Justin Hall. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, we've got the replay. Let's take a look exactly where this happened. Pulled it up. So even though he started on the pole car, Modoff now down to second, and it happened up towards the bus stop, maybe? Oh, no, this is Nick Harwood that we're looking at. Here it is. Oh, okay, it was down to Lacombe. Whalen in the slipstream just pops it out. One Porsche versus another, and Whalen makes a clean one. Actually, that was pretty textbook.
Can't make a cleaner pass than that.
So we come back live now. The gap is extended slightly. Derlicka now 1.5 back. And also we had a change for position between Albert and Thacker. Or at least a challenge. I'm not sure if they did change positions. Albert's in 9th, Thacker in 10th. Let's stay on this, though, because Modoff gaining. Oh, no, there's a lift. He could have gotten a lot closer towards the end of that straightaway. Modoff can't have gone this long, Taylor, without noticing the fuel-saving strategies that Jesper's used to good effect. I'm kind of side-eyeing Carl Modoff right now, thinking, you're doing a little monkey see, monkey do there.
Well, that's then one way to try and keep your competition behind you is seeing what everyone else is doing and try to either copy it or improve upon it. And I think Modoff is going to try and do what Jesper Derlicka usually does here in a race, utilize the slipstream to save that fuel, to come in a little bit later than everyone else, and then, of course, add less fuel when he comes to take his pit stop. So Modoff not really looks like to be in a hurry to get into the lead again, and let William Whalen use his fuel up, utilize where he has to come in and take a longer pit stop.
See if it lets him jump in to a significant enough degree to be able to take the lead and break the draft. We have had a couple other pitters. They've been very sparse early on here. Kyle Smith and Karsten Quint have also taken scheduled stops, but that is it. Everybody else has still yet to take theirs. Back in 7th place, Thomas Ellison and Francisco Montini. We've checked on this a couple times. It's another Porsche versus Porsche.
Yeah, these two have been going at it pretty much for the duration of the race. Montini still trying to carry the flag after his brother got caught up in that lap 1, turn 1 incident. So Montini's going to poke his nose out. Oh, as we have a car off. That's Michael Derby.
Oh, no, and that looked like a high-speed incident. Let's take a look at the replay. Longchamp takes another victim. This looks like a handful of oversteer coming out of that fast left-hander, Taylor, and, well, he caught both walls, actually.
Yes, he did. It just got really loose, really light for him, and he was just not able to control the car. So unfortunate for Michael Derby, who is having a really good run here tonight.
So he's taken it immediately into the pit lane to try and get repairs. Again, no spare cars for them, so they're going to have to repair the damage. Also, Thomas Ellison has been in and out. He was in that battle we were watching just a minute ago. So another driver using strategy to try to get away from their rival. We are
looking
now
at Daniel Pinto right now. He's closing.
Go ahead.
Yep, Daniel Pinto was closing in now on Alexander Cofford. He's got his eyes set right on him. He's within striking distance. Cofford makes a mistake. Pinto will be right there on him. This is coming towards Fuon.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Danny Pinto right now. Go ahead.
Pinto is just trying his best to utilize it, try to close that gap. He's been running quite very consistent laps, actually faster by 2/10 than Cofford. So give it a matter of time, and I think Pinto will be in the 4th position.
An amazing climb, an impressive climb with Pinto. Now up to 5th spot. A driver behind them who's still in a battle is Alex Albert and Aaron Thacker for that 7th spot. Not sure if they're actually more working together, these two HJ Motorsports cars. Because every time we jump to them, we really don't catch too much action between them, even though they're very close. They're coming up to pit lane themselves soon. Let's see if maybe one of them tries to pit. Because like I said, we're now past halfway. And I'm not sure how open the pit window is.
Here he comes.
There goes one of them. Yep, Aaron Thacker. So that's going to leave his teammate by himself to continue on. It has been... there's our from-behind driver. Let's see what he can bring us today. Sits in 12th at the moment. Up at the front, it has been practically a stalemate here, Taylor. Not only is Whalen and Modoff not really done much in the way of shifting around, but Jesper Derlicka just can't seem to do anything to reel them in.
No, he gets pretty much stuck in a stalemate at the moment. He can gain it a little bit, and then they pull away towards certain parts of the track. So something is either up where Jesper's just biding his time, waiting until a pit stop cycle starts to happen for the front runners, or he's just really just not able to catch these two Porsches.
Right now, our highest bidder is Thomas Ellison. He's come in and out and is currently in 13th. We're watching from the back of Derlicka. So we now look to the front. You can see there's really not much in the way of a threat from Cofford on Derlicka with how far behind he was. Jesper's certainly pushing hard to try and get up with these guys. Still waiting on quite a bit of the field to come in now with 18 minutes left to go on the clock. Again, after this round, only 3 left here in the American iRacing Tuesday Series. And unfortunately for Ben Perez, who did have a 22-point drop week himself, he is going to have to use this one now, I believe, for his drop week, and might not make it a 4th championship in a row. He's a 3-time crown winner here in the American iRacing Tuesday Series, and he has a DNF today when he was sitting in third in the points coming in. So he's certainly going to drop a few. Crawford comes in and heads for his pit. I think he should be able to get out ahead of Ellison.
Lucio Vargas also comes in.
There's our leaders yet again. Don't think we'll see any attempts. Modoff looks to be content to just ride back there. Derlicka, though, has closed in by about half a second, and he's gaining more with the slipstream now. I think he's finally caught that draft, and at what a crucial moment. It is now down to half a second. We got a train of 3 for the top spots.
Yes, indeed. Utilizing that slipstream, something that Derlicka is really good at utilizing. Almost seeing the air, trying to put his car in the right place to try and gain that speed as best he can. As they head through No Name, he's got a little bit better runoff. Modoff goes a little bit offline over the curving. Got to be careful not to get that.
Yep, I think this is proof that Jesper is not sitting on his laurels. He is indeed pushing, trying very hard to get to the back of Modoff and Whalen. I can report that Crawford got back out ahead of Ellison, and he's got about 5 seconds over Thomas right now. Eisler also pitted. He's come back out in 20th spot. Remember, he had an incident in the very early laps all on his own and went way down to the bottom of the order. Not sure that it's going to be a very good day for Eisler to try and gain points, although he will gain quite a few on Perez.
All right, this is a make-or-break moment. We're going to be under 16 minutes to go here by the time we get to the bus stop chicane. Who will make the first move down pit road? Looking to see.
Two in.
That's it. Continues.
I mean, is anybody shocked, though?
No.
At that happening?
I actually would have been more shocked.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would have been, too. If he would have come in and been like, oh, I guess he wasn't saving fuel today. It's like, is water wet and is the sky blue? So, Jesper Derlicka continues on to lead a lap. William Whalen, Carl Modoff head in to hit their stalls. Pinto is in. This is a great return to form by Danny.
Yes,
see all
indeed.
the cars behind coming in too. Taylor, go ahead.
Yep, Montini comes in along with Alex Albert, Guillory, Maxi Sorelia, Alexander Crawford's coming back up.
Laz is in. Harwood is in. Jean Carini. In fact, the only driver, it looks like, who's going to be able to make that extra lap is Jesper, which kind of makes me wonder, did he push it too far?
Only one way to find out.
Well, Valenzuela's going to make it. So only Valenzuela and Derlicka are going to be able to get to lap 14 for the pit stops. And we saw this recently on GSRC, Taylor, where drivers tried to take an extra lap on series where the fuel is limited. It was with the SRFs, and unfortunately the lead car gave the win away because he ran out of fuel on his in lap.
Yeah, you have to be so careful and calculate your fuel strategy really closely, as well as learn how to save. I learned some fuel saving strategy back when I was with Blackadder. It was by far very intuitive of how to do it, and it's pretty much an art form of how to do it. And Jesperoni has definitely mastered that art form of saving fuel.
All right, he's coming up to Blanchimont here. Doesn't look like he's slowing for now, so I think he's got enough up to the bus stop. This is not an easy one to coast into because of the way the pit entry has sort of a sharp hairpin. Also don't want to hit the wall, and he's made it. All right. So what is this going to mean between Jesper and William Whalen and Daniel Pinto? Whoa, Pinto's ahead of Modoff. Pinto has jumped Modoff in the pits.
Yeah, and has quite a good gap over Modoff. Right now the battle is going to be see what Whalen can do if he's able to catch Derlicka. Derlicka now hits his pit box.
Whalen is coming up towards La Source. Derlick is heading out now. This is going to be awful close. It's a much shorter corner coming through there, and he is well ahead of him. Way ahead. Look at that. 2 seconds shorter in his pit stall.
Are you shocked? It's something that we see Derlick do.
It's still an impressive feat. Oh, my goodness. So William Whalen is still going to have to hustle to try to run him down. It's a 2-second difference. Daniel Pinto about 6 seconds back from Whalen. Karl Modoff, he's only 2 seconds longer in his pit stall compared to Pinto, and only 1 second longer than Whalen. So why is he so far back? He must have had a bad pit entry. I need to look at something on his pit stop, because Karl Modoff was in the lane for 10 seconds longer than those around him.
Well, he's got to be careful right now, because Alexander Crawford is closing the gap on Karl Modoff. So they make their way down towards Ravage and out of there towards No Name. Crawford's been closing the gap here for this lap right now, and I'm actually impressed, because Crawford was, for the longest time, couldn't even touch a driver like Modoff, and now here he is about to possibly catch up to Karl Modoff as they head to Pouhon.
Oh, what we missed was Modoff missed his pit stall and had to back up and pull into it a couple times to get it to work. That is why he's so far behind. And it's actually put him under threat from Alex. The 127 closing in. You can see as we look back. Now we ride on Crawford. Carolina driver driving for HJ Motorsports, seeing if he can scalp a good position. Back in 11th spot, Maxi Sorella and Justin Hall. Those are two familiar names. Well, it's because they've been fighting each other the entire race. Out of Stavolo they come again. And Justin Hall looking to close. He's got a fantastic exit.
He's got a real good exit. He's going to close the gap before they probably get to Blanchimont. Really gets right on the bumper now, and now let's see if he's going to try to look to the inside. Oh, got to be careful going offline on corner exit. Nope, going to follow right through as they move towards the bus stop chicane.
He really straddled that curb. And took a lot of curb there at the second apex.
Yeah, he really got it loose through that section. You got to be so careful through there.
So that lost him some time, but we got a battle behind him. Kita trying to see if he can pass Lucio Vargas. Kita and Vargas actually pulling a nice bit of charge forward. Vargas the more of the two of them from 21st to 13th. Kita going from 20th to 14th, and that is after the pit stops are done. In fact, as they separate, since the pit stops are finished, why don't we give a top 10 rundown for you? I'll take the first 5, give you an update if you're just joining us on what's been happening here in the race. Jesper Derlicka, he started it from 4th. He had to fight his way past the likes of Eisler. Once he did, it was a critical moment because he eventually, after many, many laps, ran down our leaders and then went 1 lap longer to jump them and take the lead over of William Whalen, who sits in 2nd. He started this race in that 2nd spot, and he was mostly fighting Modoff for much of the race. Now he's all by his own, trying to catch Jesper. Behind them, boy, I tell you what, as bad as that qualifying was for Daniel Pinto, he's collected himself. You mentioned he's good here at Spa last season. He's good here yet again, going from 12th to 3rd. Then back and forth, you've got Karl Modoff, started it on the pole. He's been trying to hold on to this championship lead. He's been running incredibly consistency, finished mostly 4ths and 1sts with a single 6th place last round. Alexander Crawford rounds out your top 5. He is not far behind Modoff and really is our first serious battle for position here at the front of the field. Taylor?
Francisco Montini has been running in the 6th position after starting in 11th, having a real good run tonight, but he's also been having to deal with a little bit of Alex Albert right behind him in the 7th position, who started way back in 16th position. Alex Albert in that Ford GT trying to close the gap right now on the Montini. But right behind him is one of his teammates, actually two of his teammates, Thomas Ellison in that number 027 Porsche, having a real consistent night running in the 8th position, with Aaron Thacker, Mr. Consistency, back inside the top 10 after running with his teammate of Alex Albert for the duration of the race, currently running 9th. And finishing out your top 10 is John Guillory, running in right now in that number 27 Porsche. Started in the 15th position. Pretty much not had no battles going on for him tonight. Just focused on the track, focused on hitting his marks, and putting out a good result here tonight at Spa.
Behind these guys, we're not continuing the count, but just going to the first battle, which is right there. You can see Justin Hall starting to gain, and Maxi Sorella goes defensive, but he doesn't really need it because Justin was not close enough when they hit the braking for Lacombe. So the positions are going to stay 11th for Maxi, 12th for Justin.
Yeah, these two have been pretty much battling the entire duration of the race. The good old rivalry of Ford and Ferrari continues here on the virtual world as they head down through No Name. Justin Hall trying to find a way to put the power down to get by him, but Maxi is just utilizing that good corner exit and holding his line as best he can to keep that blue oval right behind him. Oh, washes up though in Pouan. Got to be careful. That closes the gap up for Justin Hall to make the move.
That certainly is advantageous. We saw a bit of a squirm on the power coming out of No Name from Justin Hall, as he stays right within the tire tracks of Maxi Sorella. He's been trying so hard to peel this one away from him pretty much the whole race. Let's see if he's got it here. We've watched him get a good run off of the second apex in Stavolo before. They look about dead even. The draft is going to help him in, but not before they get to Blanchimont. Not missing anything up at the front watching this fight. It's staying consistent between Derlicka and Whalen and Pinto. The podium is holding station.
Gotta be so careful not to get too much curb through the bus stop chicane. If you go over it too much, that will cause damage to your car, whether it be the under tray or the aerodynamics of the car, whether it be bent up the nose or even some of the side frame diffusers. So drivers are going to have to be careful not to go over those curbings through the bus stop.
We were watching this battle here between Hall and Vargas. In 6th place is changing hands as we speak. Alex Albert to the inside of Montini, down into Lacombe, gets it done and makes it look easy while he's doing it.
That was what we call another textbook pass into Lacombe down the Camel Straight, utilizing that draft and just making that pass towards the inside. The Montini closes the gap a little bit, and the Ravage heading towards the No Name. So the battle's...
sorry to interrupt, but Justin Hall had to go at Maxi Sorella down into Lacombe. Didn't make it stick, but they were side by side into the braking. He's starting to get his nose in, and I think it's a matter of time before he can finally execute.
Yeah, he is applying the pressure severely on Sorella. They come out of No Name. He gets a really good corner exit speed now. Try to utilize a little bit of slipstream before they head to the Pouan. Not close enough for anything, but you got to be so careful going over those curbings. You can't get the car loose to wash up track, but still, both drivers are able to hold up.
As we ride on board with Justin Hall, you see the tail lights of that Ferrari. Oh, so close, could almost reach it, but can't quite do anything to push him out of the way. As we come down to the last 4 minutes of this race, time is running out for our drivers who want to make inroads. Just about 2 laps to go, we're seeing.
Motov's closed the gap by the looks of it on to Daniel Pinto. I would say maybe about a 2-second gap.
He's only closed by about 1/4 of a second, though. I'm not sure it's quick enough. And amazingly, maybe he just likes his 4th position. Karl Modhoff is in 4th again. Maybe that 1/6 place is just going to be an aberration in his entire season. Regardless, it's holding that station at 1.7 seconds behind Pinto. You could see Cawford behind him, also about 1.8, 1.7. and 13th. Vargas and Kita have been going at it, and every once in a while we poke our noses in. Don't forget, that's Christian Eisler, and boy, I think he's going to make short work. He's been on his climb forward. Well, he's gotten up to 15th, but that's still a very small amount of points for a driver like Christian. This is his first one he's going to get with Kita being overtaken down the Kimmel Straight and into Lacoon. Taylor?
Yes, he is. He's going to go late on the brakes, wash up just a little bit to where Kita has to check up a little bit. Now he's going to set up it for Vargas. He goes through there. Not close enough to make it, but let's see if he tries to get late on the braking through the Ravage. Nope, just going to follow suit, but Vargas washes up just a little bit. That's enough room maybe for Eisler to stick his nose. Nope, going to hold the line through No Name. So Eisler may be able to close in the gap, maybe try to get either 13th or 12th. He has been showing quite very good consistent speed, over a second faster than the next drivers in front of him.
The Iceman's going to be left wondering what could have been, though. And I think, yes, we're going to get the white flag this time by with Jesper Derlicka coming across the line, but crucially, he's starting to come upon lap traffic. I wonder if this could be what William Whalen needs. If Jesper Derlicka does not have these guys get out of the way in a convenient place, Whalen's 3-second gap could close tremendously.
Yes, indeed. And we also remember last season, lap traffic was a major factor for our leaders for this race, where it caused incidents to where even it cost the leaders the win. So these Derlicka's going to have to be really cautious going through here, catch up to these lap traffic drivers.
They're on the Kimmel Straight. There you can see him closing, and that is a battle for position ahead of him, just to complicate things. They're not going to want to get out of the way pretty quickly. Makes me think of Singapore this year. The back markers battling for spots as the leaders suddenly close on them, and they don't want to give things up, but the leaders also have their race to run, fighting for position. They now hit Ravage. Ooh, with some blinking from Gary Schilling is not going to help either. Down towards Puhan. They could see the valley ahead of them. Through the double apexer. Still, Valenzuela doing what he can to try and overtake Schilling, but in his mirrors, bigger and bigger comes Jesperoni.
Jesper not really pushing the issue right now, just focused on his race, focused on the track, maybe not even try to even worry about passing these two drivers. Realize he has a decent amount of a gap over Whalen. He might just hold his line.
He could get held up a bit, though. I know 3 seconds would be a lot to lose, but, and especially here's the danger. If they start to try to battle and take each other out and spin in front of Derlicka, that can be extremely bad news and really could cost them the win. So as they come down to the bus stop, the finish line is tantalizingly close, and they are going to battle into there. Valenzuela outbrakes them, but they get it sorted out. It's holding up Derlicka a little bit, but not enough to worry as they come off the corner. Jesper Derlicka takes the win here in round 7. Whalen gets second place, and Daniel Pinto, driver of the race for me, getting his way all the way to the podium from 12th. Karl Modoff, another 4th place. We're just going to have to start calling him Mr. 4th place.
The Ballardful sticks kind of broke off now, but it looks like Alex Albert will get by Montini to get the 6th position.
Thacker's going to lead Guillory home for a top 10. Maxi Sorella, whoa, actually Maxi Sorella, well, who was he fighting before? Because it was Hall, wasn't it?
Yeah, Justin
Hall is
Hall.
nowhere to be seen. He's fallen down to 17th. It was Hugo Galaz.
Good save.
I wouldn't call it a save when he pancakes the wall into concrete, or the car into concrete.
Justin Hall was trying to go on the outside of Maxi through Stavelot 2 and made contact.
Ooh, bad ending for him. Not sure we'll be able to get a replay of that one, unfortunately, with all the cars coming across the line and finishing up now. LeBlanc, Quint, and Valenzuela, the last to be able to finish, and nobody's in a battle. So let's head to break here. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. We watched round 7 out of 10 here in the American iRacing Tuesday series. It's now coming down to the wire, and Jesper Derlicka is putting his stamp on things. The rookie is looking better and better to take the championship. William Whalen, who is still yet to win, followed him home. It was only a second between them. That was, of course, closed in the end by the traffic. It was 3 for most of the second half of the race. Daniel Pinto finally finding his feet this season, but probably too little too late. Still, I have to commend him on what was a fantastic race on his part, going from 12th to 13th. Karl Modoff, something happened out there. He started on pole. It looked like he had pace, and then he wound up in 4th. Of course, that was hurt by his horrible pit stop where he missed his pit stall. Alex Cofford takes a 5th, coming from 10th. Another good climb of positions with Alex Albert. Another one, 16th to 6th. Francisco Montini takes 7th place, with Thomas Ellison finishing in 8th and Aaron Thacker in 9th. John Guillory grabs himself a top 10. Taylor?
Finishing in the 11th position is Maxi Sorelli, followed by Lucio Vargas coming home in 12th. Christian Eisler, the Iceman, having a more difficult night compared to his last time here at Spa. He will come home in the 13th position, followed by Takeshi Kita with a 14th position. Nick Harwood would come home in the 15th position. Along behind him is Hugo Galaz in 16th. Justin Hall, after having late contact with Maxi coming through Stablot, he'll finish in the 17th position, with Kyle Smith finishing 18th, Jean Carini in 19th, and rounding out your top 20 in the 007, James LeBlanc.
Then it's our last 2 cars to finish on the lead lap. Karsten Quint in 21st and Cristobal Valenzuela in 22nd. Gary Schilling is our first car lap down in 23rd. Pete Mabroten, our first DNF, I believe, as he finishes 24th, 6 laps down. Michael Derby, definitely a DNF, 10 laps down, 25th. Ben Perez, 26. Oof, that is going to hurt him in the championship hunt. Joseph Janowski, 27th, and Federico Montini, 28th. Those last 3 that we listed were DNFs because of that first corner incident, unfortunately. So with that, we have our interviews ready to go. The first is going to be our winner, Jesper Derlicka, keeping it consistent with only he and Modoff being our winners so far this season. Jesper, yet again, looked like you saved a little bit of fuel because you were 2 seconds faster in your stall over any of the other drivers in the lead pack.
Yes, I did, Joe. And I also took a tire as well, so I think that helped with that with pace near the end. But the Porsches early on, especially, were super fast, and it was tough trying to catch them. The Ford kind of came into its own later in the race, which helped out a lot. And yeah, I mean, I just didn't really have a ton of pace today, so I had to use some gimmicks.
Well, we noticed that. It seemed like you were struggling to try and catch both Modoff and Whalen when they were leading. Eventually, you did. And then you went that one lap longer, and that made all the difference. But the real question for you is, what were you thinking on the final lap when you started to approach that lap traffic in a battle? Because I have to imagine you were a little nervous there.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do, but I saw that I had a decent gap over Williams, so I was just like, I'll let him battle it out. I won't interrupt, and it worked out. So yeah, thanks for the guys in the back keeping it nice and clean there at the end.
Yeah, they at least one of them let you by when you came to the line there to keep you from having too much hassle. Now, when you came into this race, you were tied for the points lead with the drop weeks included. However, when it comes to the drop weeks, Karl Modoff still has 25 points under his belt, and you have 0. Does that change how you race in these last 3? Do you plan on trying to points race, or is it just going to be all out?
I mean, it's as far as I know, if I don't win, I won't. If I don't win every race from now on, I don't think I'll be able to take the championship unless Karl has some unfortunate races, but I doubt he will. He's very consistent.
Oh, that's for sure. With the way he's been running so far, he took another 4th place, believe it or not. But you took another win. Congratulations. Go spray some champagne and enjoy the podium here at Spa.
Well, thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to all my sponsors, Thrustmaster, and Quip, and Pure Driving School for the setup, and Radicals Online, and everyone watching GSRC stream and my stream at twitch.tv/Jesperoni.
All right. Thanks for that, Jesper. That was our winner here today in round 7. Up next, Taylor Burris has caught up with 2nd place finisher Will Whalen.
Here with William Whalen. William, an excellent run here today. Another 2nd place. Tell us how your race was for.
Honestly, in my opinion, it went pretty good. Just ran my own race, hit all my marks. The pit stop was about as good as it could be in the Porsche. So overall, I'm happy with the 2nd. So yeah.
Yeah, early on in the race, you had a real tight battle with Karl Modoff. Tell us, how were you able to just set that pass up and utilize to make that pass before the pit stop?
Mostly trying to leave a gap at the first part of the straight after turn 1. So that way you don't get washed out going up Eau Rouge or whatever it's called. Sorry. But yeah, just trying to set that up so you don't go wide at the top of the hill and then pass on the inside or wherever he isn't blocking. Looking back though, I think I should have just maybe stayed behind him and try and build a gap. But I felt I was more consistent. But in the end, I came 2nd, so.
Of course. Well, next week we're going to be at Interlagos. Tell us, are you ready for that? How do you feel about going to that track? I know a lot of drivers utilize that track as saying not one of their favorite iRacing courses here on the service.
I don't have much experience on that track. I haven't really ran any races, but I'm just gonna put in extra practice. I like the curbs on it. They're not gonna throw the Porsche off too much like they did at Montreal or other tracks. So yeah, just gonna put more practice.
All right. Well, William, thank you for stopping by. Again, William Whalen finishing 2nd here at Spa. And Joe, I believe you caught up with our 3rd place driver who had quite a show tonight, Mr. Daniel Pinto.
Yep. Daniel Pinto has joined us on the podium for the first time this season. Man, Daniel, it's been a while, and I bet this feels good considering you came from 12th on the grid.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting it. As I only arrived at the server 5 minutes into qualification, and I didn't manage to get good laps. So I thought that I would maybe at most get a top 5, but with all of the crashes at the start, well, I got lucky.
Yeah, I'd say you did. And so obviously this season hasn't really been going to plan, especially compared to last one where you were fighting for the championship. But you've come back at a track where you were very strong last year. Do you consider yourself sort of a specialist here at Spa, or is it really nothing particular to you?
Uh, it's actually one of my worst tracks. This one. I'm usually not very consistent, but I think that my lack of confidence in this car this season has helped me with the consistency here, because I know I can be faster, but I'm just not getting enough speed from this car with this BOP. I'm struggling a lot this season, and I've been too busy at work, so I don't have much time for to run some laps. I've already missed 2 races, I think, uh, because of work. So, well, it's a nice change of pace getting a podium here.
I can imagine. So, should we take that to mean that we'll see that Sailors paint scheme on either a Ferrari or Ford next season, or are you going to stick it out with the Porsche?
I'm really not sure, because I always test the cars when the new season comes, and I've tested it, and well, I thought that, well, the Porsche is still more or less the same. The other cars are a bit better, but I can manage the Porsche again. But then 1 week into the season, they made some minor changes, and those minor changes just screwed up my driving style completely. So, well, let's hope they don't do that again.
I'm sure. Well, that really sucks. Especially we were hoping to see you mixing it up with some of these newcomers. Again, congratulations on the third, and we hope to see you in Brazil.
Yeah, thank you, and hope to see you again next week.
Absolutely. That was the final step on the podium. Daniel Pinto here today at Spa, but we're going to close it up. And before we go, we, of course, want to once again thank our sponsor for this series. That is SIMMSA.net, the Simulation Motorsports Association. Go give them a look. That is SIMMSA.net. See if they can help you with your rig, as well as many other things in sim racing. A big thank you to the Precision Racing League. They are the organizers of the American iRacing Tuesday Series, and they do all the work, the heavy lifting behind the scenes to bring these events to life from week to week. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. As we mentioned, we're heading down south of the border. That'll be towards Interlagos in Brazil. That'll be Tuesday, November 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.